Here's Piers. So let's take us around, please, if you don't mind, around your facility.
Well, look, this place hasn't been sanitized at all, so you're seeing it in its natural state. We've got some of our tank sleds here, so this allows us to push without necessarily needing a sled track set up, which is awesome. We have a bunch of paraphernalia for kids here. You know, it's stuff that just allows families and things like that to come in, bring their little ones with them, and have them present, but not be front of mind for the time that they're here. This is a big part of what we do. So we've got our program up on the board. So we don't do random workouts. What we do is we come through and we'll actually have something that will go for 4 to 6 weeks where someone's working on specific qualities so that we see progress, measurable progress, and their skill with those different movements is going to jump up in a meaningful way. If you're constantly bouncing around from thing to thing, your outcomes are going to be predictably poor. So we don't want that for our clients. So we've got a 6-week program and they know what's coming ahead of time. We've got a whole bunch of different things. We've got sandbags, we've got the isometric straps, we've got a bunch of different toys that we'll bring out. At the end of the day, every tool is just a tool, and this is a part of our toolkit. We have a couple of kettlebells over here as well. So we use these. There's a 92 kilo kettlebell, which as much as anything gives
Can you pick that up for us for a moment?
Yeah, sure. I probably won't put it overhead, but
thank you.
So, I mean, it looks like a big bell. It is a big bell, but it's also a nice entry point for people who are deadlifting. They can get used to deadlifting with this weight, and then once you're at 92 kilos, 60 kilos on the bars, much more accessible. Chains for dragging, so you can drag them crawling, walking backwards, walking sideways. Just adds load. At the end of the day, the ability to carry and drag things is a huge part of the way people are meant to be, and so this allows us to strengthen all the joints and musculature and ligamenture that are involved in those processes in a really safe, controllable way. You know, if the chain's too heavy, you just don't go anywhere, which is ideal. It's the coffee machine. So this is a bit of probably the center of the universe in here. Certainly in the mornings it is. So people will come in, they'll have a coffee. A lot of them have a coffee before class and after class, but it's a chance for people to meet and bond around something, because at the end of the day, it's as much about your mental health as it is about your physical health. Because if one goes, the other one will probably follow on afterwards.
So we probably wouldn't call this a flash,
not at all,
state-of-the-art facility as a lot of the gyms advertise themselves.
Yeah.
The funny thing though is this was better for a lot of people than any of those flash brand new places.
Look, this place is constantly not as organized as I would like to be. There's things where it's just not quite perfect. You know, we've got our cage for children here. And there's a bunch of things about this where other people have had their input and where they've got some ownership over the space. And it's a much more welcoming environment because we don't have, you know, everything perfect the way I would really love it to be. It's about more than me. It's about the other people that make up the community as well. And a perfect space is not often a welcoming space. And so we've chosen rustic over ideal.
And they love it.
They do. Yeah, they keep coming back.
Welcome to the 45 Project. My name is Tamas Finta, and my guest today is Piers Kwan, or I should say I'm Piers' guest, because we are sitting in his facility in Brisbane, Australia. Hi, Piers.
G'day, Tamas.
Thanks for coming on to the 45 Project.
Pleasure.
As a guest speaker. So we've met quite a few years ago now through our journey to learn about Russian kettlebells and strength training. And I think a decade or so later, we still catch up a few times a year. And Piers runs his own facility in East Brisbane. Please tell us about this place.
Yeah, so it's we've been in this location since 2014. We're in the back of a warehouse, sort of not far from the Gabba cricket ground. And so we have a bunch of people that come and train here, primarily from about 35 to 70. And they're people who want to be a part of a community where they're seen, known, and where they can train for longevity. So my clients aren't the people that are excited about winning the workout. They're people who want to be stronger this year, next year, and then still stronger again in 10 years.
Okay. So you said your clients are typically between 35 and 70. Did you have a special marketing campaign to target these people, or how did this happen?
We've ended up with that clientele. So we've got two distinct groups. We've got physios, chiros, people who know the way the body moves and why you want to take care of it. And then the other one is we've got people who've been around a little while and they've either never done strength training, so they've arrived at 45 or 50 and gone, hang on, I'm starting to feel old. I don't feel like I'm able to do the things that I want to do. How do I do that? And then the other ones are the ones that have got some runs on the board. They were good sportsmen at one people. They know what their body's supposed to feel like, and they realize that smashing themselves in the gym just isn't giving them the outcome they're looking for.
Right.
And so those people have come in, and then physios have sent their clients, and people have told their friends. I would love to be good at marketing, but it's not my gift. And so we've grown that clientele because our clients have come in, they feel good, they move better, their friends notice they're moving better, and they bring their friends along with them.
Awesome. Please, could you tell us about how your journey started and why you actually decided to go down this path of strength training rather than a commercial gym or some other form of exercise?
Sure. Oh, look, a bit of it was luck. So I was just after my 20s, just in my 20s actually, and I started off. I was at the gym and I realized that I was just using the power rack, and I thought, you know what, this is stupid. I'm not going to pay for a gym membership to come in and use one piece of equipment. So I allocated some money and I bought some equipment at home, and I got this crazy email from a group in Melbourne, and they talked about kettlebells. They talked about all these wild benefits, you know, Android-like work capacity, a back of iron, and I thought, look, if it's half as good as that, you know, it'd be pretty cool. And so I bought the kettlebells, and at the time it cost me $350 for two 16-kilo kettlebells, which was a fair commitment. And I started using them, and they were okay. But there was a guy who came up from Melbourne and ran a course on how to use the kettlebells, a one-day course. And I thought, I've spent $350 on these. I should go and learn how to use them before I write them off. And so I went and did that course. And it was the swing, the get up, and the goblet squat. And I did that course 4 hours. And about a week later, I found that actually the sports that I was playing, I was getting these really great outcomes. So I was playing a lot of touch football at the time. And I was always the really slow guy who would run through a gap and then look for someone running beside me who would actually run away from people. And I found myself in the position where I was running through gaps and no one was chasing me. And so I got really excited because obviously my athleticism had kicked up a notch. And then I noticed that injuries that had been bothering me, I'd damaged my knee again playing touch football, and being the intelligent guy that I was, I'd done none of the rehab that I needed to do on it. And so I had both hammies that were giving me grief as well at that time. And I noticed that actually I wasn't having to tape my leg at half time when I was playing soccer.
Yep.
And so I got excited about that. And then my posture improved. And so I kind of went, wow, there's something to this. And so I went deep down the rabbit hole, looking into the kettlebell stuff. I did a course here in Brisbane, and then I traveled to Melbourne, and then I traveled to the US, and basically just collected a lot of information. Still not intending to do anything with it. It was just because I was super interested. And then people started to track me down and wanted to learn about this information. And so, you know, eventually it pushed me out of my other job, and this became my life. But I guess the short answer to your question is I got into this because it improved the way that I moved, the way that I felt, and it made me, like, it improved my resiliency to the point that I no longer had to think about my body doing day-to-day activities.
Right. Now, you know, obviously this whole project and my whole platform is aimed at 40 plus people.
Sure.
Why do you think this is a good option for someone who is just starting out? Let's say they've never actually had a chance or time or interest in exercise.
Sure.
Or they had 20, 25 years dormant.
Yeah.
And now they want to return to exercise. Why would you say this is a really good option for them to do?
Yeah, look, good training should build you up. When people come in and they do the style of training that both you and I do, they leave the session feeling better, and then they get measurable outcomes.
What's wrong with feeling beat up?
Well, I mean, if you get your long-term outcomes, feeling beat up might just be a step on the journey. It's not the way it normally works, though. Normally, if we beat ourselves up at the gym, we'll get an emotional boost from it. Mm-hmm. But the long-term outcome is normally what a guy called Mark Rifkin calls the strong guy cycle, where you come in, you lift heavier, and then you break.
And lift nothing.
That's right. And then you have to go really light, and then maybe you get back to the same level again, and then you break again. But realistically, you end up with a much lower level of strength and wellness if you're going hard out every time you go. I mean, even our cells don't like it. There's something in our body that when we keep on going hard for about 6 weeks or more, that our body starts to put the brakes on, and our cells will actually deteriorate in their quality. And then adrenal fatigue, sleeping poorly, the likelihood of injury goes up. Everything, if you're constantly going hard, doesn't work as well long term.
Mm. So it was just a bit of a sidetrack from your original question, is why this type of training we don't want to use the term functional strength, do we?
It's useful strength.
I prefer useful strength.
Yeah. So it allows our body to do what it's meant to do. You know, all the systems that we use, the original strength, the strong first, the gold medal bodies, all of these systems are things that are built around people being able to do what they're meant to do and giving them the freedom to choose what that is. Longevity, there's people that talk about the difference between lifespan and health span. And ideally, we want our lives to be long, and we want our quality of life to pretty well match the length of it. And training the way that we train, working within our range of motion, within our range of capacity, and doing that regularly is going to allow us to extend that health span far longer than if we do what feels good today and you know, smash this workout. It seems like that's what we've always been told is no pain, no gain, right. Go hard, go home. But realistically, these are not sustainable outcomes for most people.
Right. My next question is a bit of a role play, if you like.
Sure.
Let's say I'm a 51-year-old guy, which I actually am. And I come in to say, I've heard of your place, I've heard of your training. I've done a fair bit of gym work. I'm used to that. I'm familiar with that.
Sure.
I don't quite understand how this works, what you do.
Yeah.
And I would like you to tell me why it might be a better option for me than going back to a commercial gym.
Sure. So, I mean, the big thing is why you're wanting to go to the gym in the first place. What is your goal?
To feel like I'm strong and I can do the things I like doing.
Yeah, right. And so at the end of the day, our priority is going to be to tie you together first to improve your quality of movement. And once you've got the quality of movement, then we can stack strength on top of that. A lot of the time when people go to commercial gyms, they will go and they'll roll out the same program that they've done for however long, and they'll do it again and again and again. And a lot of the time there's no progression, there's no taking care of the base of it. They might get themselves a 25-year-old personal trainer who's finished their 2-month course, who's doing the best that they can. But at the end of the day, what we're going to provide is we're going to provide an expert eye, someone who's seen, thousands of people like you, and we're going to give you a solid pattern that can allow you to build good strength on top of what you've got. Everyone is designed to move, and we're not designed to break down the way people tell us we are. When people come through and they're like, oh, my back's sore, but it's just because I'm old. Age probably doesn't help, but at the end of the day, you're not meant to walk around at 50 with a sore back. 50-year-olds, we've got 50-year-olds here who have come through and they've been in that place, and after a month, they're able to go out and do the things they like doing, because when the foundation is solid, you can build a much higher tower. And so your life doesn't end at 40, it doesn't end at 50. You're meant to move and be strong for much longer than that, and setting the foundation right, which we do here, which is done all around the place, that's what's going to allow you to do the things you like for a long time. And I'm afraid that pec flies and doing a whole bunch of linear movements is not going to have the same impact.
So what is the limitation of regular gym equipment in terms of movement and strength?
If someone's clever, they can get really great outcomes with just regular gym equipment. There's the issue though with a lot of that stuff is you're dealing with patterns that are pushing, pulling in a single line. Our body is designed to work in 3 dimensions, and so when you come into, our facility has a lot of space. It's a big empty space that allows people to explore the ground, to explore the world around them. When we learn to operate and control our bodies in 3 dimensions, then everything starts to work together in a little bit more of an organic, natural way, and we get the useful strength we were talking about earlier.
Awesome. So we talked about the physical side of it. I know you know this, and
Sure.
I was hoping you will start talking about it, but I'm going to prompt it.
Sure.
What about our movement intelligence, our central nervous system? So not just physical attributes of strength, like bigger muscles or ability to hike longer, but what happens in our brain when you do this sort of training?
Okay, so that's a great question. So we do something called original strength. And original strength is designed to remind your body of the way it's meant to move, and all of our movement starts in our brain. All right, so when we can get our brain talking to itself well, everyone's knows that our balance and our inner ear are connected, but the inner ear and what's called the vestibular system actually control all the communication, or almost all the communication, between our brain and our muscles. If you're constantly doing movements where you're sitting, you're standing, and you're not really doing a lot to stimulate that vestibular system, then your brain's ability to chat to your body goes way down. Okay, and over time, there's a theory that people who, when they're old, don't look at the ground and get bad posture because of their muscles getting tired and short, but they start to do that because they're no longer getting the information from their vestibular system, and so they're trying to learn what's going on in front of them with their eyes.
Safety thing, safer,
Yeah. And so, ideally, we're going to have strong bodies where our brain can still feel what's going on around it. It can respond to things that happen. If you slip on something, having a body that can react quickly and strongly and catch you without you thinking about it is something that a healthy vestibular system, having good, strong internal reflexes and responses, which doing all the crawling, the rolling, the nodding, all of those ground-based patterns and patterns that integrate, one arm, one leg, all those sorts of things. It's what allows us to continue to be responsive and to respond appropriately to unexpected things as we age. It's also hugely linked into our ability to process information and to fight off things like Alzheimer's and dementia.
Thanks for bringing that up. That would have been my next question. There's research that shows that it has a ability to prevent, or at least halt the progression of such illnesses, right?
Yeah, a friend of mine in Singapore was working on a study with stroke victims. So people who had a stroke, they'd lost part of their movement quality, and he'd been doing some of these sort of developmental patterns with them, and actually help them to rebuild their brain, so that they were getting really promising results. And it's not just people who have had major injuries in their brain that need to have brain fitness. These movements provide a physical stimulus that gives us mental health. My daughter is 10 now, and she was born with cerebral palsy. There was something that happened. She had a dark spot in her brain, which meant there was a bit of brain damage, essentially. She came in and she did a bunch of this stuff, and now they said, look, there's no point in us seeing you anymore. The only difference she had was a little bit of calf difference in terms of the size of one muscle on her calf.
Great news.
It's awesome. But it's because she went in and she kept on working on these developmental patterns after she could still walk. There's a lady in the States called, in Britain called Sally Goddard Blythe. And she used a lot of these movements with kids who are in primary school and in secondary school. And she found that their social interactions improved, their academic performance improved. And, those were the things that she cared about. And then in the States, we had Tim Anderson, who was working with athletes in the NBA and in the NFL and things like that. And so we've got kids it works for, teenagers, we've got adults. In here, we see it working with people who are beyond those stages, where they start to get their athleticism back. I'm a bit younger. I'm 37, but I've never been as athletic as I am right now. This stuff is amazing. I am clearly a better athlete. My ability to learn new skills and do new skills has obviously improved in the last decade.
Right. And just a reminder, the guy Piers was mentioning, Tim Anderson, is a mutual friend of ours. And there's an interview with Tim on this channel as well, if you're interested. Now, not all my guests are professionals in a way that they own a gym facility or actively train people. You are.
Sure.
There's a little bit concerning tendency I've been seeing as another professional. A lot of the guys, probably your age, but definitely my age, over 40, 50, they have so much resistance towards breaking away from sedentary lifestyle, just sitting at the TV. I had a big day, leave me alone.
Yeah, sure.
I'm stressed. I don't want to go anywhere. I don't like gyms.
Sure.
I don't like anything about it.
Yeah.
Why do you think this is? And is there any hope for these guys, or what the motivation should be for them to at least consider the alternative?
Sure. Oh, look, I'll start by saying I don't like most gyms. You go in, you've got a bunch of people preening around, you've got screens playing loud pop music. I don't want to be there either. So I can understand that. But at some point, there's going to be a cost. You can either start training now, do a little bit that you don't like semi-regularly now, so that you can still continue to enjoy the quality of life that you've got in 10 years' time, 15 years' time. Or you can stay seated and continue to have all the risks attached to that. The heart disease, the back pain, the lack of mobility, the inability to keep up with your kids, the inability to go and play golf or tennis or whatever it is that you like to do, sail. All those things require a base level of physical fitness that the couch is just not going to give you. It doesn't have to be hard. At the end of the day, getting out and doing something. Start off by going out and going for a walk on a regular basis, because walking is incredible. And walking outside is even better. I mean, you look around, you get all the benefits of the light, you get some time outside breathing fresh air where you're not sitting in a hunched position like you do in your car, in front of your TV, at work, at your computer, all that sort of thing. But eventually, we lose between 0.5% and 1% of our muscle mass every year once we cross that 35-year-old barrier. Yes. If we do nothing about it. You think about that. I
was way bigger when I was 34.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, but we'll leave that alone, because I've got less to lose. But if you think about it, if you're if you're feeling discomfort now at 40, all right, and you in 15 years' time, you're going to have lost 15% of your lean muscle mass. In 30 years' time, you're going to have 1/3 of the lean muscle mass that you've got gone. And it won't be, that's a big deal. You know, if you weigh 60 kilos and you lose, and you've got 20% body fat, which is pretty normal, that means you've got 48 kilos of other mass. Of that, probably 35 kilos is muscle, maximum. If you lose 10 kilos of that, your ability to do everything goes down. All right. And a lot of the time you're going to lose your fast twitch fibers, which are the fibers that are going to help you to react to something surprising. They're the fibers that if something threatens your family, they're the fibers that are attached to throwing a good punch. They're the fibers that are attached to lifting something heavy. You know, being able to help your friends with a fridge. That stuff is linked to the fibers that you're going to lose. If you do nothing, your value as a human, and not your value inherently as a human, but your value to other people in being able to help them is going to drop. And there's no question. It's not a case. Genetics will help.
Not your opinion. It's a fact.
Yeah, genetics will help a little bit. But most 99.9% of people, if they do nothing, are going to find the next 15 years are going to be way harder than the last 15 years.
I think this should be a good enough motivation in itself.
You'd hope so.
I personally strongly believe that there are more pillars to fitness community than the exercise itself.
Sure.
Another very strong part of it, I consider community. My own facility, Club 45, was also built around this foundation, and I know I've been hanging out with you for over 10 years, and I've watched you grow this little space into an awesome community today. Why do you think community is important, and why do you think it is important to your members?
Yeah, I mean, the big thing for me is we know that when you have a group of people that you're doing something with, that you're 5 times more likely to get to a positive outcome than if you do it on your own. So that's a huge part of it. The other thing is, in a book called Grit, there's a lady called Angela Duckworth, and she talks about how if you want to be good at something, you should go and hang out with people who are doing the same thing. You know, go and join the best swim club. Be the worst swimmer at the best swim club, and you're going to find that you catch up to everybody else along the way. Coming and being a part of a community allows you to shortcut the process to competency, and that's a big deal. But there's more than that. So when we built this place, one of the main things that we were looking to build it around was an idea called self-determination theory. And this theory says that if people are a part of a community, they have something to strive for, and if they have a sense of autonomy, the ability to control their own destiny a little bit, that their mental health is going to be way better. And so what we've found is when people come through here, they take ownership of their own fitness journey, their own quality of life. In this environment, they're able to do that in a safe space more easily because they're in the stream traveling along with other people. They're not fighting to get to the gym every day. It's not the same sort of willpower. It's not the effort. You go in, you see people that you like, you have a coffee, you engage in the rituals that the community does, and automatically or almost automatically you progress in the right direction. So it means that in 1 year's time, in 5 years' time, in 10 years' time, without really having tried or put a huge amount of effort into it, you're going to find that you're in a way different space than what you would have been otherwise. And it's just not the same if you're doing things on your own. Like it doesn't have the same drag to it. I think about when I used to play organized sport. We would have games that started at 9:30 in the evening or 9:20 in the evening. There's no way that I would ever have wanted to be anywhere at 9:20. But because I had the other people in my team, I would rock up, I'd enjoy what I was doing, and I'd have gotten an extra hour of activity in that I wouldn't have gotten otherwise.
Yep.
Being a part of a gym community kind of works the same way. You know, if Kathy knows that Rob's going to be in here, then she might come in just to see Rob and get an additional bit of exercise along the way. It makes it so that your barrier to entry drops dramatically because it's fun. and it's no longer just about coming in and hitting your reps and sets. It's about coming in and being a part of a group that is committed to the same goal.
Thank you. At the end of each episode, I ask my guests to offer 3 tips, advice,
Sure.
something down that line to you guys, to the audience, that they can use immediately from tomorrow to make a positive change to their lives. What would be your 3 tips?
Get outside. Find something that'll take you outside where you can enjoy walking around, seeing the world around you. Find a group of people that do something that you like. Ideally, find a group of people who are doing something strength related that can motivate you, so you're not having to fight to go to the gym or to do whatever each day. A community of people that are doing something that can pull you in the right direction. And then the third one, get enough sleep. Turn off the TV at a reasonable hour, go to bed, sleep, at least 7 hours and preferably a little bit more. And that's going to make a huge difference. If you can get a half-hour walk, 8 hours of sleep, and then find people doing something active that you enjoy, you're going to find your physical and mental health will go up dramatically in the next month even. It's not going to take long.
Sounds really good. Thank you very much.
Pleasure.
It was a pleasure to talk to you. Now, if you guys enjoyed this conversation, there are more of these on the channel. Please like and subscribe, and I will see you next time.